Hey boys and girls, welcome back. I got simple ties here for you. Kind of bouncing up against trying to learn some dry dropper techniques, okay? So I ordered some smaller beads. These are 2.5 millimeter, and last week we tied, up, it's called the Found Link by Kelly Gallup, which is just, a dry fly that is kind of like a spinner imitation, okay, kind of like this, that we're going to be suspending this fly underneath. Learning the technique is kind of what's pushing me this direction. That's something that I want to work on this year. And Perdigons, which is what this is, one of the most basic flies that are tied, and there's a ton of different types of materials, and that's kind of what I'm going to be covering here the next few weeks. What we have here is just using wire and thread, okay, simplest it can be. So as far as the bead that we have up here, that's 2.5 millimeter by Mun. The hook that we're using is a size 16 fire hole, 5/16. That's just the style of the hook. It's actually not one of their bigger 16s, so it is almost an 18 size hook. Comparing it to other brands, I've noticed that. The thread that we have on this one is green. We're going to be tying with silver, and that is just a Semperfli product. And then we have some UV and things like that, so that we're going to apply around the body. On this one here, you can see this little black wing case. I guess that's what it's supposed to imitate. This one here does not have tails, but you can put them with tails or without tails. I'll show you here. Like here is same size hook, okay, but with pink wire. And the tails that we're using here, I didn't show you that. That's just these little microfibbits, okay. The difference that I'm going to be experimenting with, this one here is a 3 millimeter bead. This one here is the 2.5. That's the only difference. Same hook, same everything. So this is a jig style hook, so you can get those bigger beads on there. I don't know that I would go heavier than a 3, for a dry dropper, but I tied some up because I want to start messing around with these on the stream. So this one is one that we'll be covering in the next couple weeks or so. Just a different type of material than what we're running up against with this thread material. So let's go ahead and get started here. Like I said, I tied half a dozen of these up last night. Multiple colors. Just go through. I have a bag of little wire pieces, that keep your scraps, and just started wrapping those up, and that's kind of why I keep them, all those little experiments. Okay, now these tails I'm using are called pale. It's pale yellow is the color. They are very thin, but I normally pull off 4 or 5 of them at least. I don't really pay attention to keeping the tails straight, the tip straight, but I do pay attention to where this hook sits. I like it to be on the high side, like this, okay. Reason being, maybe it just slipped off. Reason being that little dark spot you know, that we put on a lot of these types of patterns. You can utilize this, you know, this little hole in the back of the bead. On that one pattern I showed you, I put a little bit of black Solares on it. I see that on a lot of patterns, but that's ultimately what they're trying to do. Now, as far as the length that you want, this size 16 hook, you know, it's very small. So how big do you want that bug to be? Most times I am not tying these the whole way back, and because you put tails on it. Pick these tails up again. You know, when you put tails on it, it's going to be that long. Okay, do you want it that long? I don't know. I always try to keep those a little bit short. I think it looks a little bit more realistic. But yeah, take it back. Like these little microfivets, they're just like mono, so they'll flare real nice. Just try not to get those where I want them. That was too far. Want them on top of the hook, obviously. When you tighten down on them, you can see how they'll flare a little bit. Once you get them secured, I will normally, just like with anything else, try to get something underneath so that they'll stand up a little bit. Okay? I'm just taking these up to the head because we do have to build a little bit of bulk. Just a very, very slight taper. And I tie that wire in up at the head, so I'll stick that wire in the back of the hole. Then I'll take it down the outside. Okay. Now here is where you're gonna build your little bit of a taper. Mostly, I mean, it is slight. Such a small bug. Just wrapping it down around the edge of the bead there, just to build up a little bit of bump there, if you can see that. Okay. Tie that off. And wrapping, I used to use my fingers for a second there. Yeah, we don't want to adjust those tails, so be cautious on that first wrap. Then how many ever of these you want to fit on there? Alright, keep that tight. This pattern that I'm using here is a little bit of a midge pattern. That's kind of the idea. I'm just trying to take advantage of what's already in the water. I cut that off, and then I'll stick that little tag into the back of that. Okay? Now, at this point, I'm going to tie this off. This doesn't look too different from the Higgins. That's kind of... red for a little hot spot. Something simple like that. Okay. Get your Solares or your whatever UV you're using. Just gonna cover those up and try to protect that thread a little bit. You don't want this all gooped on there. Get your light, cook it. And there you go, Zebra Perdigon. First of many. There's so many different patterns that you see on this. You can't even really come up with names for these things, but I'll do some of the traditional ones. I'm going to be looking at Corey's from Old Dominion Trout Bum. He's got one that seems to be working very well. It's called Jack Daniels. Been seeing it online a lot, so that's congrats to him on a fly like that. The Gasolina is one. I'm going to try to go through different materials instead of focusing on specific type patterns, just because there's so many of them, but they are effective, and that's kind of the idea. So to go with the tradition of what all of the equipment is going lighter, I'm just kind of slowly feeling that out and experimenting a little bit. So this is part 2. So all right guys, thanks for stopping in. We'll see you in another week.